Tonight, the world did not just witness a phone call, it witnessed a turning point in history. A late-night conversation from Prime Minister Modi has shaken the very foundations of global power. The balance is shifting, the order is rewriting itself, and the world is watching in awe. At a time when nations doubted India's influence, Modi's voice rang with unshakable authority. The late-night call was not just about strategy. It was about sending a message to every corner of the world that India's time has arrived. For too long, global powers looked at India as a nation that followed rather than led. But in that moment, the tone of leadership changed forever. Every word carried the weight of centuries of struggle, resilience, and silent patience. This was not just one leader speaking. It was the collective spirit of over 1 billion people finding its voice through him. The world had grown comfortable in believing that decisions shaping humanity could be taken without India at the table. That illusion was shattered in one call. Power does not always reveal itself in armies marching or missiles flying. Sometimes it shows itself in the firmness of a leader's voice and the calm conviction behind his words. Modi's call reminded the world that influence is not demanded. It is earned through consistency, strength, and courage to stand tall in the face of pressure. Rivals listened carefully, allies paused in reflection, and the global order tilted slightly in response. What seemed like an ordinary diplomatic exchange was, in truth, the declaration of a new era. It was a reminder that India will no longer wait for an invitation to shape the future. It will create its own seat at the table of power. And as the call ended, the silence that followed spoke louder than anything else. The world now knew that a new force had entered the arena, and it would not be ignored. The late night exchange wasn't just diplomacy. It was destiny unfolding in real time. Conversations between world leaders happen every day, but very few of them have the power to shift the ground beneath nations. This one did. The words spoken carried a weight far heavier than policy. They carried the force of conviction, of courage, of clarity that cannot be ignored. Modi's message was not coded in diplomatic softness. It was sharp, direct, and powerful enough to echo beyond the phone line. The world suddenly understood that this was not just another leader asking for attention. This was India declaring its rightful place on the global stage. For too long, silence had been mistaken for weakness. The world assumed India's restraint was hesitation, when in fact it was strength waiting for the right moment. That moment arrived with this call. With firmness in tone and confidence in vision, Modi demonstrated that leadership is not about the size of one's military alone, but about the power to make others listen, to make others think twice before acting. Words, when spoken with conviction, can alter the course of history. And this call proved it. Across capitals, the ripple effect was immediate. Some leaders stayed awake longer that night, rethinking their strategies. Others rushed to their advisors, realizing that a new variable had entered the equation of world politics. India was no longer a silent observer. It was a voice that demanded to be heard. And with that, the message was clear. The age of quiet compliance was over. From that moment onward, the world had to accept a new reality. India's words now carry the power to shape destinies. What began as a simple call transformed into a defining statement of global leadership. Nations that once underestimated India are now recalculating. The late night call was more than a conversation and was a shockwave that traveled across war rooms, embassies, important lice, and war rooms around the world. Rivals who had grown comfortable in dictating terms suddenly felt the ground slit beneath their feet. They realized India was no longer willing to play by their script. The confidence and firmness in Modi's tone forced adversaries to step back, to pause, and to think twice before making their next move. It was as if the unspoken balance of power had shifted overnight, and the world knew it. Allies, too, were forced to reconsider. Those who once treated India as a partner in the shadows began to understand that partnership now meant equality, not hierarchy. No longer could India be seen as the junior player in global decisions. It had demanded its rightful place at the center of dialogue. In diplomatic circles, whispers grew louder. If India could change the course of a conversation in one call, what else could it achieve with consistency, determination, and courage? The very idea of global order was being redrawn, and India was holding the pen. Rivals retreated not out of fear, but out of respect for strength. Strength that was not hidden behind aggression, but shown through vision and clarity. This call revealed that true power is not about shouting the loudest. It is about speaking once and being heard everywhere. By the time the call ended, the old assumptions about India's position in the world had evaporated. Leaders recognized they were now dealing with a nation that could not be dismissed or sidelined. India had stepped forward, and the world would have to adjust. This moment wasn't only about foreign policy. It was about pride, identity, and the spirit of a nation that has waited too long to be recognized for what it truly is. When the news of the late night call spread, millions of Indians felt something stir deep within them. It was more than politics. It was personal. Generations who had grown up watching their country treated as a supporting actor on the global stage suddenly saw India in the lead role. For ordinary citizens, this was not just about global strategy. It was about dignity finally being restored. In villages, towns, and cities, the call became a symbol of hope. People realized that their sacrifices, their hard work, and their unyielding belief in their nation's potential had not been in vain. Pride replaced doubt, confidence replaced hesitation, and a new fire lit in the hearts of millions. India was no longer waiting for recognition. It was commanding it. For the first time in decades, people could look to the world stage and see their nation not as one being pushed around, but as one standing tall and firm. This moment also awakened the youth. The younger generation, often told that global dominance belonged, that leadership knows no proof, knows no leaderies, knows living proof a litter lift, that knows no boundaries. It showed them that India's rise is not a dream of tomorrow, it is a reality of today. The late night call was not just an event, it became a movement within the hearts of people. It ignited a belief that their voices, their culture, their strength, and their identity mattered. It was the dawn of a new era where Indians, from the humblest worker to the highest leader, carried a shared truth. Their nation had finally claimed its rightful place. The truth is clear. One late night call became a thunderclap that echoed across continents, shaking the very foundations of the old order. For decades, the global stage had been dominated by the same voices, the same powers, and the same rules. But that night, the script was rewritten. What the world once believed to be unchangeable suddenly felt fragile. A single phone call reminded humanity that power is not permanent. It shifts, it evolves, and it bows to those who dare to rise. The old order, built on assumptions that India would remain on the sidelines, began to crumble. Leaders who had grown used to making decisions without India's presence realized the tables had turned. They could no longer move forward without acknowledging the influence of a nation that had stepped into its destiny. The world order is not just about military strength or economic numbers. It is about perception, respect, and the ability to command attention. On that night, India claimed all three. The transformation was not loud, but it was undeniable. The world saw a leader who was not afraid to challenge tradition, not afraid to declare that India would no longer accept a secondary role in shaping history. The call may have ended in minutes, but its consequences will echo for generations. It marked the end of an era of silence, and the beginning of one where India's voice will always be part of the global conversation. History will remember that moment, not as a call, but as a turning point. It will be recorded as the night the global order shifted, as the dawn, when a new power rose to stand at the center of the stage. And in that spotlight, India stood tall, unshaken, unafraid, and undeniable. The world may call it a phone call, but history will remember it as the night the global order changed forever.